The first thing he noticed was the silence, not the comfortable kind, but the awkward, stretching silence that feels louder than any noise. It wrapped around the table, clung to the flickering candle, and pressed against his chest as he sat across from a woman he was supposed to be excited to meet. If you've ever stayed on a date longer than you should have, hoping it would somehow turn around, you'll understand this moment. And before this story ends, you might see yourself in it more than you expect, so stay with me. And if stories like this touch something inside you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real, emotional journeys like this one. Ethan adjusted his jacket for the third time in 10 minutes. He was 34, successful by most standards, and painfully tired of swiping through profiles that promised connection but delivered emptiness. This blind date was his sister's idea. Just one dinner, she'd said. She's perfect for you. The woman sitting across from him smiled politely, but her eyes kept drifting toward her phone. Her laugh felt delayed, like it arrived a second too late. Rehearsed rather than natural. Her name was Vanessa. At least, that's what she'd said. They talked about work. She worked in consulting, though she never clarified what kind. He spoke about architecture, about designing buildings meant to make people feel safe and inspired. She nodded at the right moments but didn't ask questions. When the waiter came, she ordered the most expensive item without glancing at the menu. Ethan didn't mind paying, but something about the way she did it felt less like confidence and more like entitlement. As the evening dragged on, Ethan's disappointment settled in. He wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of pretending chemistry could be forced. Tired of smiling when his instincts whispered that something was off. He glanced around the restaurant, a cozy place with warm lights and soft music, and wondered how many other people were sitting at tables just like his, silently hoping for a spark that never came. That's when the waitress arrived. Her name tag read Lena. She couldn't have been more than 25, with tired eyes and a gentle smile that seemed to come from somewhere deep and genuine. She set their drinks down carefully, her hand steady despite the rush around her. As she turned to leave, she hesitated, just for a second. Then she looked directly at Ethan, her eyes holding his in a way that startled him. "Enjoy your evening," she said softly. A few minutes later, when Vanessa excused herself to the restroom, a phone in hand, of course Elena returned. She pretended to wipe the table, then slipped something beneath Ethan's water glass. Their eyes met again, and this time there was something else there. Concern. Urgency. Ethan waited until Vanessa was out of sight before lifting the glass. His heart thumped as he unfolded the small piece of paper. The handwriting was neat but rushed. "She's not who you think. Please be careful." For a moment, he just stared at the note. His first instinct was disbelief. Was this some strange prank? A misunderstanding? He looked up, searching for Lena, but she had already moved on to another table. The words echoed in his mind, growing heavier with each second. When Vanessa returned, Ethan tried to act normal, but his chest felt tight. He asked questions now, more direct ones. Where exactly did she work? How long had she lived in the city? Her answers grew vaguer, her smile thinner. When he mentioned his sister, who had set them up, Vanessa froze for half a heartbeat before laughing it off. "You know how people exaggerate," she said. "I'm sure she told you all kinds of things about me." The knot in his stomach tightened. Then her phone buzzed on the table. She flipped it face down quickly, but not before Ethan caught a glimpse of a message preview. Did he pay yet? Ethan felt something crack inside him, not heartbreak, but clarity. Memories surfaced of past dates, of subtle red flags he'd ignored because he wanted things to work. He realized how often he'd doubted himself, how often he'd chosen politeness over honesty. He stood up. "I think we should end this here," he said calmly. Vanessa's eyes widened, then hardened. "Seriously? After all this? I don't think you came here for the same reasons I did," he replied. He placed cash on the table, enough to cover everything. "I wish you well," she scoffed, grabbed her purse, and left without another word. Ethan exhaled, his hands trembling slightly. He sat back down, suddenly aware of how exhausted he felt, and not just from the date, but from years of carrying expectations that weren't his own. Lena approached again, this time without pretending. "I'm sorry if that was out of line," she said quietly. "I just a broken bar. I've seen her here before. Different men, same routine." Ethan studied her face. The sincerity there. "Thank you," he said. "You didn't have to do that." She shrugged gently. "Sometimes people need a warning. I wish someone had given me one once." There was something in her voice that made him pause. "What do you mean?" Lena hesitated, then spoke. She told him about a relationship that had nearly broken her, about trusting someone who wore kindness like a costume, about learning the hard way that intuition is a gift, not a flaw. She laughed softly at herself, but there was strength in her laughter now. They talked, not like a date, not like strangers either, just two people sharing pieces of their lives honestly, without masks. Ethan realized he felt lighter than he had all evening. When he finally stood to leave, he hesitated. "Can I come back sometime?" he asked. "Not for a warning, just a broken bar to talk." Lena smiled, this time without tiredness. "I'd like that." Weeks passed. Ethan did come back, often. Sometimes they talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. Slowly, something real grew on, not rushed, not forced. He learned that Lena was studying part-time, that she dreamed of opening a small cafe tilde copyright someday, a place where people felt seen. She learned that Ethan designed buildings because, as a kid, he'd grown up moving from place to place, always longing for something that felt like home. Their connection wasn't dramatic or perfect. It was steady, honest, built on small truths. One evening, months later, as they sat together after Lena's shift ended, Ethan thought about that note again, about how close he'd come to another disappointing night, another step away from trusting himself. He realized that sometimes, what feels like a disaster is actually a redirection. Life doesn't always save us with grand gestures. Sometimes it's a quiet warning slipped under a glass. Sometimes it's a stranger who cares enough to speak up. And sometimes, the person who changes your life isn't the one you came to see at all. If this story reminded you to trust your instincts, to listen when something feels off, or to believe that real connections can come from unexpected places, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You never know which story might arrive at the exact moment you need it.